I was really excited to do this still life because I love the colors in it. And also, I'm so impressed with the way he was able to make the pottery look like pottery. So I thought it would be just fun to try it. And also, this was one of the main ways people learned how to paint back in the old days, is they copied paintings by masters. So in this case, the center of the bowl is about the width of the bowl compared to the center of the bowl. So the bowl is not right in the center of the painting, which honestly I thought it was, but it's not when I check it. So I thought this might be a good place to start, is with this top edge of the drapery, and then figuring out where the bowl was right in there. So the middle of the bowl is about, I got it a little too big. So if you can, although sometimes I do check my measurements first, I did in this case, but sometimes if you can, it's better to draw first and then measure, because then you get better at spotting things. And then so you draw, measure, and correct, and that's what makes you a better draftsman. So I'm just trying to place everything right now. And I'm looking at the spaces, like in between stuff. So I'm using these negative shapes to help me get the relationship between each of the apples. And then I think it would help me actually to get this circle in, because it's closer to these apples. So then maybe I could see where they go. I'm pretty sure I didn't leave enough space over there anyway, so this is kind of helpful to come back over here and then look at these shapes. And I am kind of trying to think a little bit about what is in front of what's overlapping what, just because that's going to help me with my drawing. You know that this, okay, now I get it. Okay, yeah. I was like, why is there a shadow here? But it's a shadow cast by this one. Why are there shadows on both sides? I was asking myself. And then that means this front edge of the table is just a little bit further down. And this apple, the shadow from it And this apple's a little further back on the table. This is a good place to check, especially because I'm at an angle. So that's the distance from the bottom of the page to that line. So just trying to make sure I made that a parallel line. And so something like that. Oh yeah, so I was supposed to be drawing that circle, but I guess I was distracted. Another thing I could check right away, I could decide that this apple is going to be kind of my standard of measurement. And of course I have to get a paintbrush. This apple is going to be my standard of measurement, and I just like to see how many apples tall the plate is. So, that was impossible. Okay, so I'm just checking that. 1.5. So the plate is 1.5 apples tall. And where did I check that from? Sorry, it's almost 2 apples tall right from this point. So here's 1, 2. So see, I missed it by quite a bit. So I'm just going to need to bring that down some. All right, now I can try to draw that circle in. It's also possible that actually it is true. This apple is bigger, so I need to make this apple a little bigger. Okay, so let me just check that again. So if that apple is that big, then this is 1. All right, making that apple bigger was good, but that actually ended up being about the same. And then this circle just a little higher up than that apple. Little tiny shadow on the plate here, little tiny shadow on the plate here. That's the back edge of that apple. Another thing I can do is I can hold my brush up and I compare this apple to that pot is the right size. This apple is lined up with the top of this. That's a great way to check, is use your brush as a horizontal. And then this little bit goes up on top here. So actually it's over more. And this you can tell this still life is really high up on my eye level, and I think these both curve just slightly down, but they're very close to straight. So I'm just going to start them off straight, and then and I'm looking to see how close is that right here, that space. And then I want to go ahead and put the shadow in so I can see how big it needs to be. So something like that. I just want to compare all the widths of the bowl from the circle. And it's on, the bowl is just like directly in front of me. So this distance is equal to that distance, which it's not, so. And it's equal to that distance. So either I guess I've got to, maybe I need to find the middle of that because I'm over here on the side. It's hard to see it. I'll bring that way a little bit. The inside of that messy line I have. So you can start with a messy line, but sometimes you have to come back and tidy everything up to a better line. All right, so that, I just check against my apple again. So my apple is a little bit bigger than that, but I kind of wonder if I made my, and my plate has to go down to here. Is that believable? I guess it is. I can't really see the plate in there, so. And just a little more on the top. I guess it's more important that the plate be accurate to itself than that I have my apples exactly right. Because nobody knows about the apples, right? And this pot needs to come behind that apple. And there's a shadow from the apple on that pot. Okay, why is the hardest thing to draw in the whole picture? Why does it always have to be on the far left side? What is up with that? I'm going to check the pot too, the width of it compared to its height. And it's really close to the same. My brush is just too long for me to use here, like stretched out. I'm too close to my table and stuff. So I'm actually using my charcoal to measure things over there on my photograph. And that pot is just under 2 apples tall. So let's just check that too. Yep, good, okay. So. And I want to check if I have, well, who knows where I'm even thinking this line is, but I think if I look at this space here, I think that's about where that goes. And then, okay. So, you know, I really want to start the color because, of course, the color is what I love, but it would be not a good idea to start the color when the drawing isn't accurate. So I'm trying to restrain myself. Okay, and the pot is at a more of an angle to me because you can see this side right here, that left side, is quite a bit wider than the right side. So let's just make sure I've got that kind of small enough so that right side is smaller than the left side. And then I do know I'm going to have to draw this in because, oh, and look how cool that is. They did all that with a series of straight lines. If you're going to copy people's artwork, I guess the reason, well, I don't know. My reason is I loved it. But also, I mean, I love the colors. So, okay, and then here's the light part. So this is dark. And this is the light part right in here. But, you know, what can you learn from it? And the thing is, I didn't even know Mondrian did this kind of work at all until this came up on my Instagram feed. But anyway, so I don't really know his technique or how he did this. I mean, in the ideal world, you would know the person's technique and how they started. So you weren't just copying the surface quality of their artwork. And so like instantly going right for this exact finish color. And I'm just going to use my sort of normal technique where I try to see the unusual colors or the variety of colors that is in his painting, just like I would if it was a regular objects, not a copy of a painting. And I am just starting everything with basically one color for light and one color for shadow. And so that's why I'm only drawing in the bigger shadows on each object. I'm not thinking yet about the halftones or anything else. I'm drawing in the shadows created by the objects and the cast shadows, which are the shadows on the tables. So now would be a great time to go take a break and then come back after you've had a minute away. But yeah, I'm not going to do that. So now I'm going to really focus on his highlights. His highlights are super bright. And I don't know if it's a window or if it's an electric light or what, but I'm just going to see. I just can't tell what color those highlights are. Maybe on the plate, the top part of the highlight is a little yellow. So I'm just going to start with that. And then I'm going to just put a little white on it. And that's the brightest highlight I can make. So in order for me to make this look like he painted it with that highlight so bright, I'm going to have to start things maybe a little darker, like the white. I'm going to start it with this blue. And the color I'm probably going to do last is back here because this is the color that's most like the paper. And I'm not like covering it really heavy. I'm just covering it enough that, you know, I can see it. Okay, so maybe it's not really that blue. It also has something else in it. Let's just try this sort of, I think it's I'm not sure if it's a pink or a purple. So it's not exactly the same value as the light blue, but it's pretty close. And you can put as many colors as you want into an area as long as you keep the values sort of constant. And I do feel like I see something even warmer in this plate, so I'm just going to try that too. And then that's three things. So, but if you think about it, if I was doing an oil painting, I easily could have mixed 3 colors together to get this. So this is all I'm going to do on this for now. I say that's my first best stab at it. And now the shadow color, I think it's green. So I need something that's darker than the light. Certainly something darker than the light. And never worry really if I get a color too dark, because it's just always, it's easier to get light over dark in pastels, because the pastels, the dark colors are harder than the soft colors, physically harder. So if I get a dark color down, I can always come lighter over it. That does not worry me. Okay, so, I think I'm just going to leave that for now, because I just don't feel like I have any other answers beyond that. And then this blue thing, I feel like it has just a lot of red under it. So, I mean, I guess I can see the clay, the red clay. So I'm just gonna do it, even though it makes me anxious. It's like, okay, it's okay to be anxious. And it's good practice for the rest of your life, right? Anxious here about something that really does not matter one bit in the world. And some sort of purple there for the shadow color on it. And I think the right side, I'm going to go with a green or something. Yeah, so there's a possibility that color is too much like the color, but I'm just going to leave it for now. Okay, and then, wow. All right, I think the blue part of the wall up here has some pink in it. So don't be shy. And I think before this first fold here also looks a little pink, and I think it's a little pink on the top of the table too. And I'm just trying to look at the shape that makes. That's pretty close, but I'm gonna go ahead and just use the really dark blue for back in here. Oops. And I just want to make sure my camera's still lined up. There's not much room in here for a clumsy person. It's all really close. My camera is only about 3 feet away from my setup, and then I'm sort of scrunched there in between. Okay, so putting that dark in. The thing about the dark blue is it's just the darkest thing, so I can just use it. Sometimes I use it even if it's not the right color. I use it because it's the darkest thing. In this case, I mean, dark blue is good enough description for the beginning. And I'm just going to put in these, the fold things. All right, so I think this blue maybe has some green in it. I mean, this pink, this pink maybe has some green in it. That is probably altogether way too bright, so I'm not going to do that anywhere else, not with that color. But I will back here with a slightly darker color. And I'm going to put this in. Wow, that is the perfect color, but I don't really want to use the perfect color yet. Because once I've used the perfect color, what else will I do? Oh, I don't know what to do. Okay, actually I'm going to work on the some of the apples first, because I don't want to get a bunch of green down here and then have that interfering with my apples. All right, so I just can't decide what color they are, so I'm just going to start with the one that seemed the most obvious to me. And probably that red would have been a better shadow color, so go with that over here. And I need a little more blue shadow in here. And I have made that too dark. So I'm just going to try to keep it simpler, not break it up so much. And down here, this one, yeah, this one also looks really red. Was that the red? No, that was not the red. In the shadow. And yeah, I know there's a lot of things going on in there, and it's very tempting to try to do them all. But I'm just going to try to resist that urge for the moment. You know, like this one. This one is like, it's like a pinwheel almost, the way it looks, the colors on it. Yeah, and I didn't get that in the right place. That's supposed to be up here somewhere. Little placeholders kind of help me out. All right, try not to panic. So you've probably heard me say this before, but just say it again. Like when I'm painting, I just think of it as like, maybe I'm like climbing a mountain. And the mountain, there's lots of different paths that you can start up the mountain from. And if you start with a path where you use some green on the apples, that's kind of one path to get there. And if you decide to start the apples purple, well, that's another path to get there. So I'm just almost in a way, I don't feel like it really matters what I start with. And I think you can tell that because I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about what I'm starting with. I'm just trying stuff. And pretty soon I'm going to have to think about what I'm going to do here, and I'm having a hard time trying to decide what to even think about down there. Any pattern that's slightly reflective like this, if you can start it dark and then have the highlights on it, that's really the best way to go. So I am going to start it really different than how I started it up above. And you could say this is too local a color. So local color is the color something is, like, you know, bananas are yellow. And then the affected color is the effect the light has on that color, which was the pink that I used in the background. So here I'm using pretty much the local color, and in the background on this same drapery I use the affected color, the color of the light. All right, so now I've got this, oh, except for that, so now I've got to do something about that. I don't know, that's kind of reddish too, but would that be crazy? But I could start with a purple. What the heck? I'm not going to use that one though, because that's a really expensive purple. So let's see what this, and that's kind of brown, but that might be okay. So also you might notice I never test my colors because it doesn't help me. There's nowhere I can test my colors that'll give me more information than to just do it. So I just do it. And if it's wrong, I just make it better. I mean, it's going to be wrong. How could it not be wrong? It's my first best try. Okay, so now I'm going to try to make it better. And I'm going to maybe, like here, use a color that's more accurate. Or maybe a more accurate piece of the puzzle. This is great, but I forgot I'd already used about 3 colors here, but on this paper, on this Pastel Premier, it isn't seeming like a problem to use 3 colors, but probably the next color I would try to use on that would make it start to smear together. So that's probably it for the light color. I only used 1 color on these shadows, so I could try some other stuff. And then I would spray it to keep those layers separate. Okay, so now as I look here, I can see, oh, that color is really too dark. So let's see what I could add to that. Maybe some sort of olive green. Yeah, that wasn't the green I thought it was. Well, even though it's warm outside, it's not seeming to make a difference in the temperature of the studio. All right, well, that's not green, but I think it's better. So in the philosophy or better or worse. As long as it's better, then better is better. And it's a little lighter, so maybe some, I'm just going to try some violet, and I think that's probably too light, but I'm going to spray it, so. And I'm really trying to compare it to the color of the plate. And then oh man, I wonder. This is the same exact color. The background and the fabric are almost exactly the same value. And it's really interesting. I can see it looks like he's drawn a little black line at the top just to separate them. And, you know, I would say for sure, a lot of the times the colors I start with don't like that. That just didn't work out, what I did there. So it's not like I don't do stuff wrong all the time or stuff that's not as good as it could be. But I just keep going from there. I try not to let it, you know, distract me too much. Like, okay, well, that wasn't it. And I don't think it really matters that this is an oil painting and I'm doing pastel. I think that's fine. So since I know I'm going to spray it, it's like I never can manage to get things right without having to spray because it takes me more tries than I can do pastel on one layer. It's like, it's all fine. All right. So let's see what we can do about this dang pot. All right, well, that was too dark, but put it. All right, so I need a different blue. And I'm kind of keeping it in these shapes that I started. It isn't really a round thing, so that's no problem. Oh shoot, I did not know that was going to be that, but I should have. And then sometimes even if I pick up the wrong, like that didn't really do what I thought it was going to do. I have to go with it anyway. Actually, maybe it would be fine down here. I have to go with it anyway once I picked it up, even if it's not right. And that's because, I started with it. Now I'm going to need that color underneath there. this needs to be lighter. So the only place I'm going to have the light, half light, and shadow is on and down. Well, no, this is rectangular, is all squared off too. Is up there on the top where it's actually is. It's a round top on a square base, or octagon, or whatever it is. And I'm just going to go ahead and try putting a highlight there. And I'm going to put some other highlights. I think I'm going to use a little pink for these. The highlights just are helping me make sure I'm not getting too light, because you know what? I was thinking I need to make that lighter, lighter, lighter. But when I put the highlights on, they seem to be working pretty well. So that makes me think that, no, I was not supposed to let that get too much lighter. And here I am using, well, we'll see. I might wish I hadn't, and I do. I was using the same color in my shadow as I used in my light, but I'm going to go right back over that right now. All right, well, coming back to that in a while. And I think this is just that dark blue again. Oh no, that's the green. All right, well, that's fine. All right, apples. I need to get back to them. So I'm not trying to finish. I'm just putting in more variations of color. Ooh, golly. Okay. And that apple is actually in front, so I just need to redraw that a little bit. Oops. Same old, same old. Yeah, I know there's highlights on the apples too, but I'm not putting them on yet. Oh, shoot. Got it. Yeah, and this apple's in front too of that. Okay, so there's space between these guys. So I'm just trying now to be sure I've covered up everything on the picture plane. I do not remember this color from anywhere, but I'm kind of obviously using it like a lot because it seems so great. And right here too. Okay, and you know what I think I'm going to do is try to show where those little stem holes and stuff are. Oh yeah, and this one actually has a stem. That would be nice. So I'm just going to draw these shapes in of these things a little bit more, and then I'm going to spray it in a second. I don't know if it's better to draw before you spray or after. I really don't. So I just do what I want. I just thought it'd be good if I knew again what apples were in front of what apples. And I might try to redraw that a little bit, but I think I'll have to do it when I'm sitting in front of it because I can't really. And this apple kind of comes in front of that one. And I'm also looking at the series of straight lines that make the apple look round. This apple looks a little too much like a box. It needs to come up a little more. So these places, you know, when I get back to it, this is light, half light, and shadow, and then the light will start fresh again on the other side. So this is the soft edge, and the left-hand side is a little bit of a harder edge. But I need to spray it now, I think. Okay, I'll spray it and then I'll work on it some more next time.